Of Daf Nun Beis Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. Come back to the Amatraxen that there was in the first Beis HaMikdash, a wall that separated the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Amar Ab Nosen, Amatraxen, this wall that's called Traxen, I mentioned yesterday, there are two pshatim to this. Rashi says Traxen is a combination of two words that mean inside and outside. And Taisa says Traxen means Traksin, it covers over the luchais that were from Sinai. So the Chachamim did not come to a conclusion whether that area is part of the Kodesh HaKadoshim or is it part of the Kodesh. Where does it belong? So Gemara asks him this. Ravina asked, how could this be? My time. What's the reason there was a doubt about it? The pasuk says, "Va'abayis ashabana melech shloimo l'Hashem shishim ama orkoi." It was 60 amas in its length. In other words, this is the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim together are 60 amas. Ve'esrim rachbai, and it's 20 amas wide. Shloishim ama kaimasai, and 30 amas high. Uksiv, and then the pasuk says, "V'arbaim ba'ama hoya abayisu ha'echel lefanai." 40 amas is the heichel, that's the Kodesh. And then Uksiv, the pasuk says, "V'lefnei advir." Esrim ama oirech ve'esrim ama roichav ve'esrim ama kaimasai. In front of the dvir, so the dvir is this wall. This separation is called the dvir. And in front of it was another 20 amas, 20 by 20 amas, which is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's what the pasuk says. So the total of this area was 60 amas. And 40 was the Kodesh, and 20 was the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And v'lo yadinon, so now we'll explain as follows. What we don't know is Amatraxen, this wall, which is called Dvir in the pasuk, Imahani Esrim, is it from the 20 of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, V'i Mahani Arbam, or it's from the 40 of the Heichal, the Kodesh. That's our suffix. We don't know the physical location where it was. So the Gemara asks, but if that's your suffix, maybe Vidilme Loi Mahani Esrim, V'loi Mahani Arbam. Maybe it's actually not part of the 20 of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and it's not part of the 40 amas of the Kodesh. The pasuk says that the area of the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim together was only 60 amas. If that wall is not part of either, so then it should be 61 amas. There's a wall there which adds another amma to it. So the Gemara explains, no, it's not an issue. V'chalala kachashiv. Kaislim loika chashiv. The pasuk, when it speaks about the space of 60 amas, it's only speaking about the open space, but it's not talking about the wall. And the Gemara brings a clear raya from this, from a Mishnah, where it says pretty clearly that this is the case. Teida, I'll prove it to you. Whenever it measures the number of the space, kasalim chashiv le'lididei. The walls are counted separately. They're not counted along with the length or the width of the open space. The walls are always counted separately. So we could say the same thing in the pasuk. And the Gemara brings a Mishnah, the Tanan, in the Mishnah in Midas, where it talks about the exact size and measure of everything. So there it says, Ha'heichal meya al meya berum meya. The entire heichal from the beginning, including the ulam, which is in front of the heichal, all the way to the end of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, including all the walls and chambers that are there, everything together wasn't only 60 amas, it was 100 amas, on 100 amas. And the Gemara will now explain how you get to 100 amas. It's a Mishnah actually. And the height was also, Berum, Meya also was tall 100 amas. This is in the second Beis HaMikdash. So the Mishnah starts explaining, how do you get to 100 amas? So if you count all the chambers and walls, you'll get to this number. Kaisel ulam, so first of all, the wall of the ulam was chamish, it was thick 5 amas. Then vaha ulam, the space of the ulam itself, how wide was it? Achas esra, 11 amas. Then kaisel heichal, there was the wall of the heichal between the ulam and the heichal. There's another wall, sheish. That wall was 6 amas wide. V'arkai, the length of the ulam itself is like it said before in the pasuk, arba'im amma, 40 amas. V'ama traxen, then you have another amma for this amma traxen. So here you see clearly that the wall of the amma traxen is counted separately. Both. This is referring to the second Beis HaMikdash, but it's true. So it means it refers to the pereiches that was there in that space, correct? And then v'chof amma, there was another 20 amas, Beis Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Then kaisel ha'echel, the kaisel behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim is sheish, another 6 amas. Then, surrounding the entire Heichal, and also behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there was these little rooms. There was these little rooms that they kind of kept their things there. So v'hata sheish, these little rooms that were there were also 6 amas wide. Then v'kaisalata, another wall that was behind these little chambers was chamish, another 5 amas. So together, all of this is 100 amas. So in this Mishnah, you clearly see that you can't say that the wall was either part of the Kodesh or part of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and that's our suffix. Is it part of the Kodesh or Kodesh HaKadoshim? It was in between. There was an extra ameh for this wall. Ella, therefore the Gemara says, you're right. Our doubt is not about the location, where it was. Rather, kedushase. The suffix we have is regarding the kedusha of this wall. Ikelifnim, ikelachutz. It definitely was an extra ameh. But that exactly is our question. What's the status of the kedusha of this place? Does it have the kedusha of the Kodesh, or does it have the kedusha of the Kodesh HaKadoshim? And now the Gemara brings, V'hainu the Amar Rabbi Yechanan, and Rabbi Yechanan said as well that Boy Yosef Ish Hutzel had this question, and he asked this question regarding the Pshat and a Pasuk, but it's basically the exact same question. What does the Pasuk say? Udvir b'toich habayis. There's the dvir. Again, the dvir refers to this separation, to this wall. So there's the wall inside the Beis HaMikdash that separates the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Mipnima, from inside of it, Heichin Lisiton Sham Es Araim Bris Hashem. He prepared to place over there the Araim. That's the pasuk. So now there's 2 ways how to read this pasuk. And Ibayalahu, so Yosef Ish Hutzel had the question, Heichi Ka'amakra. How do you read this pasuk? Do you read it Udvir B'toich habayis? There is this wall inside the Beis HaMikdash. Now, and then you stop there, Kama, and then you read Mipnima, inside of this wall, Heichen Lisiton Sham. Over there is prepared to place the Arin. If you read the pasuk this way, so then the Dvir is not part of Pnima. The Dvir has the Kedusha of the Heichal, of the Kodesh, and then Mipnima, inside of it, is where the Arin is. That's one way to read it. Or maybe you read the pasuk differently. Hachikama. This is how you read it. Udvir b'toich habayis mipnima. The dvir, which is the wall separating between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim, is part of the pnima. It's part of the inside, the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And then you continue reading the pasuk. So where do you put the kama? Before the word mipnima or after? So this is exactly the same suffix that we're having about the wall. So again, the suffix is not about the location of the wall. The suffix is about the status of this wall. We know where it was. It was a separate amma. But does it have the kedusha of the Kodesh or the kedusha of the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Now the Gemara asks him this: Umi misapkele. Did Yosef Ish Hutzel have this suffix about how to interpret this pasuk? But Vatanya, we learned in a Braise, Isi ben Yudah said, Chomesh mikrois b'Teire. There are 5 psukim in the Teire. Ein lehen hechra. That Chazal did not know how to translate, how to interpret this pasuk. They couldn't conclude in which way to put the word in the pasuk. And there are 5. What are the 5 psukim? Se'eis, Meshukadim, Machar, Arur, V'kam. Rashi brings here all these psukim. So Se'eis is a pasuk that it says by Kayin. Haloyim Seitiv Se'eis. And what does it say after Haloyim Seitiv Se'eis? V'im loy Seitiv L'pesach Chatas Reivitz. So that word Se'eis could go 2 ways. Either you read it Haloyim Seitiv Se'eis. Se'eis means that you'll be forgiven. It's one way to read it. Another way to read it is Haloyim Seitiv. Either you'll be good. And then you read Seitiv, Se'eis V'im loy Seitiv. If you're not going to be good, so then you'll carry the Aveda with you. So either Se'eis means to forgive you the Aveda, or Se'eis means you'll carry the Aveda with you. That's when you get to Se'eis. Meshukadim is in Parshas Truma, where it says there that you have to have Bamnoida Abba Gviyim Meshukadim Kafterea Prochea. Meshukadim means that it has this tzir, it was formed with a nice form. So does the Meshukadim go on the Gviyim, that the cups, the bechers of the menorah were Meshukadim, or does the Meshukadim go on the Kaftereha? That's the suffix in that pasuk. Then there's the pasuk where it says, Tzei Elochem Ba'amalek Machar. So it says, go and fight Amalek tomorrow. Anoichi nitzav areisha giva. Is he telling him, go fight Amalek tomorrow? Ba'amalek Machar, it's read together. Or no, he's telling him, go fight Amalek right now. Machar anoichi nitzav areisha giva. Tomorrow I'm going to daven for you. That's the suffix about Machar. The suffix about Oror is the pasuk where it says, this is Yaakov Avinu when he's talking to Shimon and Levi. So he tells them that Hargu Ishu V'ritzaynam Ikru Shayr, and then it says Oror Apam Ki Oz Ve'avrasam Ki Kashasa. So Oror is actually the beginning of a new pasuk. But you could say that Oror is not the beginning of a new pasuk. Oror is the end of the word Shayr. V'ritzaynam Ikru Shayr Oror. The uprooted Shayr Oror. What does Shayr Oror refer to? The city of Shechem that they killed. It's one way to interpret the pasuk. Or no, Shayr period, and then Oror Apam, that he's cursing their anger, and that's a separate thing. The last one is V'kam. The pasuk V'kam that it says by Moshe Rabbeinu that he's going to pass away. So the Eibishter tells him, so how do you read the V'kam? You can read the V'kam together with Sheichev. Sheichev v'mavisecha V'kam. You will pass away and you will get up again. And Rashi says that's a makkah for Tchias HaMesim. Hashem is telling him you'll pass away, but you'll get up by Tchias HaMesim. Or you read it separately. V'kam ha'amazeh v'zana. That the people are going to get up and do Averis. So that's the sfeikis that we have regarding all these 5 psukim. And now the Gemara says, who was Isi ben Yehuda? Isi ben Yehuda is the one that had the sfeikis of these 5 psukim. And V'tanya, we learned in the Braisa, we had this before. Hu Yosef ish Hutzel. Hu Yosef HaBavli, the same individual, he had a nickname, Yosef ish Hutzel. He had another nickname, Yosef HaBavli. And Hu Isi ben Yehuda, he had another nickname of Isi ben Yehuda. And Hu Isi ben Gerariah, a fourth nickname was Isi ben Gerariah. Hu Isi ben Gamliel, another nickname was Isi ben Gamliel. Hu Isi ben Ma'alalel, and he had a 6th nickname, Isi ben Ma'alalel. Umashmai, what was really his name? Isi ben Akiva Shmai. His name was Isi ben Akiva. So Yosef ish Hutzel and Isi ben Yehuda are the same person. If it says clearly in the Braisa that Isi ben Yehuda said that there's only 5 psukim that he had a suffix about, now we're bringing that there's a 6th pasuk regarding the word mipnima. Where do you put the comma by the word mipnima? So the Gemara answers, b'deiraisa leke. In psukim in the Torah, he only has these 5 sfeikis. B'denevi ikke. But when it comes to psukim and neviim, he has another suffix regarding there could be more. And here we bring one of them regarding this pasuk of mipnima. Fragt the Gemara, is that true? But in the Chumash, there's no other words that we're not sure how to translate it. But for Ikke, the boy Rav Chisda, we have this question that Rav Chisda asked. It says in the pasuk by the karbonis that were brought after Matan Torah. Vayishlach as nari b'nei Yisrael vayalu oylos. And they brought oylos. So what does it say there in the pasuk? In the pasuk it says that he sent them vayalu oylos v'yizbuchu zvachim shlomim lashem parim. It doesn't say in the pasuk kvasim. It says without the word kvasim. It says it that they brought oylos v'yizbuchu zvachim shlomim. So now one way to read it is that after oylos there's an asnachta, there's a kama. Vayalu oylos kama. And what are those oylos? Kvasim. The oylos they brought lambs. And then the Yizbuchu Zvachim, when then they brought Zvachim, which are Shlamim, Parim. Those were bulls. So 2 different types of karbanos. That's one way to read the pasuk. Oy Dilma, or maybe it doesn't say in the pasuk the word Kvasim, so therefore you read it all together. They brought Oylas and Shlamim, Parim. Oy Dilma, Idi v'Idi Parim. Both of them were bulls. You read it all together. As Rashi says, instead of the tam, the trop being a snachta, it's a gerish, it's a gershayim. So you read it oilais together. It's all read as one long thing, and all of the karbanas were parim. So he has a suffix over here, but you get to these oilais. What kind of karbanas were they? So there's another suffix, a 6th suffix in the Torah. So the Gemara says, yeah, Rav Chisda misapkele. Rav Chisda did have a suffix about this pasuk. L'isi ben Yehuda pshitile. But Isi ben Yehuda only had a suffix about 5 psukim and not about this 6th pasuk over here. So there's a sikha from the Rebbe about this Gemara here, when you get to the Mishukadim. There's a long Taisvis here and there's a Rambam about this Mishukadim. The Gemara says that there's a suffix. This Mishukadim, when they made this form in the Menorah, does it refer to the Gviyim, to the cups, or to the flowers of the Menorah? The Rambam actually paskins that it goes on both. That both the flowers had this tzir, this picture on it, and the cups as well. So the Rebbe says why. The Mefarshim actually asked the question why. The Gemara here says that it's either or. It's either the flowers or the cups. So the Pashtus you could say the reason is because if you have a suffix, so they made both of them Meshakadim. But the Rebbe says that there's a different pshat in our Gemara. When the Gemara says Ein Lahem Hechra, that we don't know where the word belongs, so if the Torah writes it in such a way, it really goes on both. If the Torah says Meshakadim, so both have to be Meshakadim. The Gviyim, the Prachim, they both have to be Meshakadim. Kaftireh, Pracheh, everything. Elamai, what's the doubt in the lashon of the pasuk? It's just a doubt how to read and translate the lashon of the pasuk. Even if Mishukadim goes only on the Gviyim, so once the Torah tells you that the cups have to be Mishukadim, I understand that applies to the Prachim as well, that they also have to be Mishukadim. If it goes on the Procheha, I know that it goes on the Gviyim as well. As far as the Halacha L'Mais is concerned, we don't have a suffix. And the Rebbe there says in the Sikha B'chlal, there's a question: how is it possible to have a suffix about such a thing? The Menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu, they had it in Eretz Yisrael, and they had it all the years with them. And then when they made a new Menorah, they saw that Menorah. So how could they have a suffix? They saw the Menorah. So didn't they see where the picture was? Was the picture in the flowers, or was it in the cups of the Menorah? This is a question not only regarding this. This is B'chlal, a famous question regarding the Rashi, Tzitzis, not Rashi, the Tefillin of Rashi, and Tefillin the Rabbeinu Tam, and Tzitzis, all these different things that we have Machlokes in about. When exactly did the Machlokes start? They were always wearing Tefillin, they were always wearing Tzitzis. Okay, so there's an answer for that. But here the Rebbe says the answer regarding the Menorah is, the Menorah was Meshukadim, the flowers were Meshukadim, the Gviyim, the Beches were Meshukadim, they all had the picture. The suffix in the Pasuk is only regarding how you read the Pasuk. Where did the Torah say this mitzvah of doing it? Did it say it regarding the Gviyim? Did it say it regarding the Prachim? But wherever the Torah said it, B'Poel, you have to apply it to the entire Menorah. That's how the Rebbe teaches this Gemara, according to the Rambam. Okay, we go back now in the Mishnah, and the Mishnah here continues, B'Negeya 2, the separation between, has a picture over here. Oh, no, wow. Whatever. Interesting, okay. So, the separation between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which in the second Beis HaMikdash was not a wall, was not this Amatraxen, it was a curtain. And,
where it was?
This curtain?
No, like is it Kodesh or...
So the status of this place, they had a suffix. We don't know.
Why don't they bring you from that wall where the Mitzvah used to stand?
The Mitzvah? That's all.
Used to stand.
The Mitzvah is in the Azara.
Right, but that made that wall.
Okay.
So you're standing inside in that wall, and then you stick your finger.
Okay.
And you're in both places without.
Half is inside and half is outside. Okay, I hear. I'm not sure if it's okay. I hear you. Okay, so the Mishnah says, Hachitzayna. Now, according to the opinion of the Rabbanon, there were two curtains. The outside curtain, Haisaprufa, it was folded over Minadorim, on the Dorim side of this curtain. So Rashi says that they had this golden clasp that held it open, that folded over on the Dorim side. And then Pnimis, the inside curtain, Minatzafin, was folded over on the Tzafin side in order to be able to get in. And now how did the Kohen enter into the Kodesh HaKadoshim? He goes in on the Dorim side, and then Mahalach Beineim, he has to walk in between them the entire length, until he arrives to the Tzafin side, and then he can go inside. Right, so the reason it was done this way, we'll see in the Gemara, is in order that it should be covered. Because if you're going to have it open, both curtains are going to be open to the same side, it's going to be exposed to the outside. So it was open on the Darim, and then it was open on the Tzafin, and he has to walk in between the entire thing and come into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And then what happened? Higi al Tzafin, when he arrives to the Tzafin, and now the Kohen Gadol enters into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Hoifich panav, so he turns his face l'Darim, facing towards Darim. And Mahalach l'Smailoi ima pareiches, he starts walking from Darim towards Tzafin to come to the center of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the place where the Aron is. And his left side is near the pareiches. If you're facing Tzafin, so then, or if you're facing Darim, that is, your left is going to be by the pareiches. Achu magia la'Aron, until he comes to the center of the Kodesh HaKadoshim where the Aron was. Yigia la'Aron, when he arrives to the Aron, Noisen es hamachta bein shnei abadim. He places down the machta, the shovel with the coals between the two poles of the Aron. And then tzavar es hakteires al gabi gecholim. He pours the ketores and he heaps it on top of the coals of this shovel. V'nismala kol habayis kula yoshan. And the whole Kodesh HaKadoshim gets filled with smoke from this ketores. Then yatsa uvaloi b'derech beis knisasai. He leaves, he comes out in the same way that he walked in, meaning he doesn't turn around that his back should face the Aron, but he backs out with his front, with his face still facing the Aron, and he walks out the same way he came in. Umispalal tefillah ktsara, once he comes out into the heichal, then he davens a short tefillah, which the Gemara will tell us what that is. B'bayis hachitzen, outside, not inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. V'loyaya mayrich b'tfilasei, this was a short tefillah, not too long. Shalei lahavis es Yisrael, not to cause any fear for the Yidden. They should think, what's the Kohen Gadol doing this so long? What happened with him? Especially in the second base of Mikdash, because there were those Kohanim that passed away inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and they had to drag him out. So he didn't want to daven too long, so they shouldn't get afraid what happened with him.
He was practically inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim
Mamish for a very short time. Yeah, exactly. And this is talking what it says in the Mefarshim, that this tefillah ktsara also, he didn't say inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It was outside. Why? In the Kodesh, not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, because be'emes it's also to have anah from the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So he's not supposed to look around and see anything over there. He's just supposed to go, do what he has to, and walk and back right out. So now the Gemara wants to know, b'ma yaskinon, what are we talking about over here in the Mishnah? The first base of Mikdash or the second base of Mikdash? Ilay b'mikdash rishayin, are we talking about the first base of Mikdash? It can't be. Mi'ava pareiches? Was there a pareiches in the first base of Mikdash? There was a wall. The Mishnah is talking about the second base of Mikdash, where there were the two pareiches. Ela b'mikdashein. So we're talking about the second base of Mikdash. Mi have a aron, but in the second base of Mikdash, was there a aron in the Kodesh HaKadoshim? The Mishnah is saying that he goes in between the two poles of the aron. There was no aron there. Vatanya, we learned in the Braisa, Mishenignes aron, when the aron was hidden, nignes eimaitz and senes amon. So the bottle that held the mon inside, that the Yidden brought inside the Eretz Yisrael, was also hidden there. Tzleiches Shemen HaMishcha, there was a flask that held the Shemen HaMishcha from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, was also hidden there. Umakle Shel Aaron, the stick of Aaron HaKohen. Next week's parsha, that is the stick which grew the almonds, Shkeideha, the almonds, the Prochel, and the flowers that grew on the stick, they had with them in Eretz Yisrael as well, they hid it there as well. And Va'arges, there was a box, Sheshagru Plishtim Deiren Lelekei Yisrael, that the Plishtim sent as a gift to the Yidden, Shenema Kli Azav Asher Shivaisum Loi Osham, that the Kli Azav, which refers to the Aron, that the Yidden, that the Plishtim, that is, returned to the Yidden after they sinned, after they captured it. Tasimu Ba'argas Mitzidoi, they also sent another box along with it. So this box was hidden together with the Aron. V'shilachtem Oisai and V'halach, the Plishtim just sent it. The story that happened with the Aron, it came on its own. They didn't have to, it just went on its own to the Yidden. So all these things were hidden. Umi Gonzai, and who's the one that hid the Aron? The what? I can't hear.
The flowers.
Yeah. They hid it where Yeshiyahu Melech hid it. One second. Umi Gonze, who's the one that hid all these things? Yeshiyahu Gonze. Yeshiyahu Melech, towards the end of the first base of Mikdash, hid it. Ma Rasha Gonze. What did he see that he hid it? Rasha Kosov, he saw the Nevuah that it says, Yelech Hashem Oischa Ves Malkacha, that the Eibusha will take the Yidden and their king, which is Yeshiyahu Melech, into Galus. Asher Takim Alecha. So Ahmad, so he heard this nevuah. He said that he didn't want the Aron to go into Galus as well, so he hid the Aron. Shanamar, it says in the pasuk, where do you see that he hid it? The pasuk says, "Vayemel leLeviim amevinim l'chol Yisrael akdoshim l'Hashem." So he told the Leviim, "Tnu es Aron hakodesh bebayis Hashabana Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael." Place the Aron inside the house. So what does this mean? It was in the base of Mikdash. It was in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. What is he telling them to put it inside the house? Elamai, it means hid it under the ground inside the house. Ein lecha masa b'kosif, you don't have to carry it anymore on your shoulders like it was in the Midbar. Ata ivdu es Hashem lekeichem es Am Yisrael, you'll serve the Eibishter, but without the Aron there. So it was hidden under the ground. This is they dug very deep caves under the ground, and it was hidden under the Kodesh HaKadoshim inside. And now, how do we know that along with the Aron, the other things were hidden as well? Not just the Aron, but the other things that were mentioned. V'amar Rabbi Lazar, Asya, Shama, Shama. We learn out Gzeira Shava. It says by the Aron, the word Shama, that it says Shama, the Rashi brings the pasuk, Yivad l'cha Shama. And it says by the Man, it also says V'ten Shama. So we know that along with the Aron, the Man was hidden as well. And then, V'asya Deires Deires. By the Man, it says L'Deirei Seichem. And then it says by the Shemen HaMishcha, L'Deirei Seichem, or Deiris. So therefore we learn that we compare those two. And then V'asya Mishmeres Mishmeres. We learn out the word Mishmeres that it says by the Shemen HaMishcha to the word Mishmeres that it says by the stick of Aaron HaKohen. So that was hidden there as well. So therefore, B'kitzur, the bottom line is, what do we see from here? That the Aron was hidden. In the second base of Mikdash, they did not have the Aron in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So how is our Mishnah here saying that there's the Aron? And says the Gemara, La'ilam b'Mikdash. You're right, the Mishnah here is talking about the second base of Mikdash. Umay higia la'arein. What does the Mishnah when it says that he came to the arein? It doesn't mean the actual arein, it means mokim arein. He came to the place where the arein was in the center of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But the Gemara says, but what v'akatani nasanas amachto lebein shnei abadim. The Mishnah is saying that he places the ketayres between the two poles of the arein. So it seems like the arein is there and he's placing it between the two poles. So the Gemara again says, Emet, what it means is kiben shnei abadim. He puts it in that place as if it's between the two poles. It wasn't actually two poles there, it's as if it's between the two poles. Huh?
On the floor?
Yeah, on the floor, yeah. Yeah. On the floor, yeah, sure.
The other was there.
Yeah, it was always on the floor, sure. Now the Mishnah said, what does he do? He heaps the ketayres on top of the coals. In other words, he doesn't spread it around on top of the coals, but he puts it like in a pile. Tanan, Kamanda Omat Soivra. So now our Mishnah is saying like the opinion that says that he puts it in one pile. We had before there were two opinions. One opinion says he spreads it around on the coals. Another opinion says he makes it in one pile. So here in our Mishnah it says like that opinion, that he makes it like one pile. Now the Gemara brings Tani Chade. In one brayse it says Soivra Pnima, that when he starts putting the pile of the ketayres onto the shovel of the coals, so he starts off placing it further inside of the shovel, shehi chutzalai, which is further away from the Kohen Gadol. Right? Where's the Kohen Gadol standing? The Kohen Gadol is standing near the curtain that's right behind him. And then he has the shovel in front of him, which is right between the poles of the arein, closer to the arein. So now when he pours out the ketayres into this shovel, he starts pouring out into the part of the shovel that's further away from him, that's closer to the arein, further away from him. And then, as he makes the pile, he makes the pile closer towards him. That's one brayse. V'tani idach, and another brayse, it says the exact opposite. Tzayvra chutza, he starts piling the ketayres further out from the arein, shipnim eloi, which is closer to you. Amar Abayis says tanoihi. It's a machlokes tanoim. These two brayses are two different opinions, exactly how he piled the ketayres on top of the coals in this shovel. Then Abaye said, Mistavre Kamanda Omar, it's more logical to say, like the one that says, Pnima, that he starts piling it further in, Shi Chutzalai, that's further away from the Kohen Gadol himself. Why? The Tanan, because we learned in a Mishnah, this is not only regarding the ketayres on Yom Kippur, but regarding the ketayres b'chlal. So it says in the Mishnah, Melam de Noisa, you teach the Kohen Gadol when he's piling the ketayres on top of the Mizbeach every day, b'chlal. So they teach the Kohen Gadol, Hizar, be careful, Shaloi taschil mipanecha. Don't place the pile of the ketayres right near you and then further out away from you. Why? Because then you can get burnt. What happens? If the Kohen Gadol starts piling the ketayres right near him, and then he goes with his arms over that ketayres, and he goes further away to pile further away from him, so his arms are going to end up above this fire, above this ketayres that he just placed down. He can get burnt. So therefore you go from outside in. He piles it first further away from him, and then he works his way closer to himself. The same thing over here on the Yom Kippur, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He starts off closer into the Arein, and he works his way closer to him, so he shouldn't get burnt.
Either way, he goes over coils.
He goes what?
He stops over here, he's already going over coils.
No. The coals, before you put the ketayres on the coals, the fire does not really burn so strong. It's that the coals are, once you put the ketayres on it, so then the fire open, so that's why you should start from further away and come closer to yourself.